Hello. It's TJ. I was wanting to play about with some new software that I had, and I wanted to make a little video of something or other. So spent all morning getting my microphone working just for this. So hopefully, it's gonna work. I'm no YouTuber or influencer or presenter in any shape or form, nor am I any sort of formatting professional. But this is how I do it. Obviously, I'm self-published. I'm an indie author. Yay, indie authors for the win. But this is sort of how I format my paperbacks. So my ultimate aim is I've got a blank document here, which is just stripped right back. So there's absolutely no formatting at all. So it's the wrong page size, wrong font size, nothing's centered, there's no indents, no page gaps effectively. It's all just sort of rolling into one. So what I'm going to try to show you today is how to turn it into this. So this is my most recent release, if anyone recognises it. But you can see it's got sort of fancy fonts, it's got headers, it's got the little indents, it's got page numbers, images, gaps for. So this is one thing that took me ages to figure out for some weird reason. The odd numbers are the right hand side of a book, so you want to start everything on an odd number, so that it all starts sort of new chapters or new sections or contents and things all start on the right hand side. So that one's coming in quite handy, so that's why there's random sort of blank pages. But yeah, so I'm gonna see how this goes. Okay, so start with the easier stuff first of all then. So first of all, I mean, one of the things I always first start with is the page size. So this is just a standard A4, like a standard printer paper size, but most books are, or most paperbacks I think, are sort of A5. So one thing that makes it a bit easier is if you go to Format and then Page. Now you'll notice I'm using LibreOffice, so if you've got Microsoft Word or something like that, it might be slightly different, but it's still just formatting and then Page, and then if we just switch that to A5, there we go. So already that's going to be the right size for a paperback book. Okay, so nice and straightforward. I say nice and straightforward, it's obviously easy when you know how. If you've never done it before, this might be new, but it's just sort of centering the titles and things like that. Now one thing that you'll notice is, now the first line of a new chapter doesn't have an indent. I don't know why it's a thing, it just seems to be. So you don't put an indent in the very first line, but then you do have the little indents in obviously every line thereafter. Now one thing that I always started with, which we don't want to do, is some people you just press the tab button and it just puts that sort of gap in there. It doesn't seem to work though on any other sort of devices or ebooks or anything like that. I don't know why, I don't know the technicals of it. But what you want to do is right click just where the gap's going to go to paragraph, and then where it says first line, I'm just going to put 0.5 and I'm going to click automatic as well, so I'll show you what that does. And then OK, so you can see it puts this lovely little gap in. I mean, you can pick any sort of size that you want, of course. 0.5 works quite well. But then whenever you press enter to go down, it's also going to bring in that sort of automatic gap there. So you can do that before you start writing anything at all. So what we'll do is we'll put all of the gaps in. If it comes up with anything in these ones, just put 0 for now. We'll come back to those and I'll show you what those are in a moment. There we go. And one thing I'm going to do as well is change the font. So I always use, again, I don't know why, that one. and 10.5. Just seems to be quite a nice size and font for the paperback. So, and then obviously we've got some fancy font up here. So the one that I did for this one is I downloaded it, so you can use any font that you want, of course. There we go. Okay, fantastic. We're looking good. For the header, if you just click sort of up here somewhere, you'll see this little sort of header box comes up. So just type in what you want, and then just format it as normal. So center, smaller, same font. There we go. And you'll notice that it comes up automatically at the top of every page. Put a little gap in there actually. There we go. So that comes up automatically. You don't have to do anything else. There is some people can do like different sections with different headers, but that's far too technical for me, so I'm not going to bother with that. But obviously that's pretty much all you need, just makes it look a bit fancier. And then for page numbers, just click down the bottom somewhere and it'll come up this little footer. So now what you want to do is, on this one, is go to insert field and page number, and then it just automatically fills in the page numbers as you're going. Again, obviously sort of centre it, change the size and the font and things, so it's not totally overpowering there. You can obviously have that wherever you want. I'm reading a book at the moment that's to the right, which is really weird, so each to their own. But centre works perfect for me, so lovely. I think that's pretty much it, isn't it, on that one? So we've got our header, fancy font, centred, have we justified? We've not justified. So you see along this sort of right hand side, it's all higgledy-piggledy. That's the official term, just FYI. But what we want to do is we want a nice straight line that goes right down the middle. So this one up here is justified, and then you'll notice it's got a nice straight line. Perfect. I think that's the prologue done. So what we'll do then is, now obviously I want sort of a page to end here. So what to do is, now I can use Control Enter, or you can click on Insert Page Break. See these dotted lines up here? So that just means that's sort of telling the system that it's a brand new page. So regardless of what's on this page or this page, there's a gap between them when you've got that dotted line there. Okay, so on that page then we have just the title and the image. So now I'm going to just highlight above here. Can you see there's like 4 hard line breaks, if you like? So I could type in those lines if I really wanted to, but we don't want any of those hard lines. So what we'll do, I'm going to take that right up to the top, and then the font and the size. I want this one, obviously I want a page break there, so because I want that to all to be on a new page. And then all we need to do is go to Insert and Image. Obviously pick your image. Oh, there it is. You can just resize it to whatever you want, really. One thing is, keep an eye, if you right click and then align objects and centered, so just make sure it is centered there for you. So you'll notice that's on an even number page, so that's going to, this page would effectively appear on the left hand side of a book, so we want to put another page break in there, so that, I know it's back to front at the minute, but just keep an eye out for those odd page numbers. That's the ones to look out for. So this is going to start on the right hand side. Another gap in there. So this part is also on a right hand side. Now I've got 2 separate types of font there. So again, we'll start with the basics. So centered. Font for that one, I think it was that one. And again, I want this bit, I don't want this directly under here, so I'm just going to put another couple of page breaks in there. And then, now we want a gap at the top of there. You see how there's a gap here, but we don't want them to be hard page breaks. So we don't want to just press enter, because that's going to give us these hard page breaks. So what to do, right click, paragraph. Now do you remember this little, this bit here? So it's above paragraph and below. So I want to put a gap of 3 centimetres above, and I'm going to put a little gap of 0.2 underneath. There we go. So you've got a nice gap, but no hard breaks. So just looks prettier. And again, the hard page breaks or the hard line breaks. I don't know why they don't sort of seem to work. You would think that they would, but what do I know? But yeah, if you do the paragraph and above and below text and things like that, you can get them set up. Obviously, just take a note of them, because you want to, if you're doing that for every section or every chapter, you just want it to be the same gap on each one, so it's consistent. Okay, lovely. And then onto our sort of our chapter. So I've got 3 different fonts in that part there, so we'll start with the easier stuff. So centered. Which one was that? Okay. Now again, I want a little gap between sort of these 2 bits here, but I don't want to do a hard page break. So where I want the gap to go, paragraph, and above paragraph once again, I'm just going to put a little gap in there of, there we go. I think it's a bit bigger of a gap actually, hang on, let me check my settings here. 1. Okay, so let me go back. So I want a bigger gap, so let's put 1. There we go. So no hard page breaks, but a nice gap in there. And then for obviously the dents again, so we leave the first one, because the new chapter doesn't have one. But then from here, we put in the indent, so 0.5, automatic, and we'll change the font as well while we're here. Oh, go to that one, there we go. Perfect, and then again, the last thing we want is the sort of the gap at the top up here without a hard page break. So let me check what settings I set up here. Gap of 2. So paragraph. There we go. Beautiful. And then obviously just make sure it's justified. So we've got the pretty line down the right hand side. But I think that's it. Let's compare. If I put that one there. So obviously it looks slightly different because that's on LibreOffice and that's on PDF. If you do want to just take this and turn it into a PDF, you just go to File and Export As, and just export it as a PDF file. And then for example, for like Lulu and things like that, when you're actually making and putting together the paperback, you can just upload the PDF. So it's really straightforward. But yeah, we've got our headers, fancy fonts, we've got all our indents, justified down the side, right page size, page numbers. We've got our breaks, so obviously we want them to start on the odd pages, which is there, hopefully. you go. So it is really straightforward. It's basic things, you know. When I sort of first started formatting as such, it was sort of interesting to find out that what I'd been doing when I was writing already to make the document look pretty, you know, how you center the title and things like that, that is formatting. Obviously a couple of ways to do it to make sure that it sort of translates to the sort of the final article, if you like sort of, for example, the automatic indents rather than the tab button and things like that. But yeah, so when I upload the PDF to Lulu, for example, it's going to print exactly as you can see it there. So, you know, it's nice and easy. As I say, I don't know any of the technical terms, but yeah, so that's the 101 for formatting. I hope it was helpful. I've had fun anyway, so if you think of anything else that you want me to explain badly, then do get in contact. Cheers!